Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We are now on day 3 of Ignite Your Soul Connection. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have another amazing conversation tonight. We have been talking all week about anything and everything that's pointed to let us save our family. We are all in this together, so we really want to make sure that we're taking notes and at least attempting to try just a few of the suggestions that we bring and share with you. Or if you can't do that, at least engage with us and find out where we are so you can get some coaching for it, okay? On Sunday night, we kicked it off with a conversation called Balance Male and Female Energy. And we had that conversation with Acer Aten and Tanisha Legault and Wendy Niece Wolfgang, right? And then on Monday, we had a great conversation called Nutrition is Weaponized. And that conversation was with Mother Mecca and Shantez Tanner. So tonight we're going to keep this conversation going because we're talking with my brother King and a good friend of mine, and his name is Martin Grant, and we're sharing conversations about making family goals matter. So we want you to, buckle up, sit tight, and I want Martin to just give us a little rundown of who he is so that people can get as familiar with you as they are with me, and they can feel just comfortable listening and taking it all in. So,
Sister Queen Miss Shemsu-t,
yes.
thank you for having this program. Thank you for having this program for the last 10 or 11 years. You know, it's important, very important that we acknowledge accomplishments. And 10 or 11 years, it's not a small one. It's great. It's great.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that. Thank you for always being present.
Aw.
And so my name is Martin Grant, and I can say that I'm from Dayton. I'm from Ohio. I'm from Georgia. I am from Fort Lauderdale. I'm from all these places, and really where I'm from is really from the spirit.
Yes.
That's that, that's where we're all from. The spirit.
Mm-hmm. And in this physical form, you've lived in several different places.
I am a world traveler. I lived in Trinidad. I lived in Canada. I lived in the U.S. I have traveled throughout the Caribbean. I've been to Europe. Have not been to Africa yet, but that's next on my list.
Yes.
One of my family, well, my daughter is from Africa. Was is African and American, and I am to visit the motherland sometime soon.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then you became a Master Force coach. Was it in 2021, 2020, 2020?
It feels so long
It does
ago,
feel on so long.
um,
Yes, it does.
because I've been around you for we've been around each other for what, 30 years
At
plus,
least. That's right. Yes.
and I've always admired what you brought to the table. Um, just your perspective on life, your relationship to spirituality, the physical nature that we live within, and the spiritual, and how you blend it, and just everything you bring to it. So it was natural for me to become a life master force coach. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Martin. And, it's so wonderful because I tell people all the time, seems like I've lived so many lifetimes. And
mhm.
it's wonderful because, the lifetime that I met you in was, long time ago when you were working with, well, Rute was being mentored by you, or you were in the same
Mhm.
group doing the housing, the flipping the housing and construction and all that. And that's been many years ago.
Yeah, and the International Black Summit
In the
where
International Black Summit.
yeah, where we created a vision and for the future of who blacks are in the world.
Yes.
And so affected everyone,
And that's
cause
still going on because of your
Mhm.
influence.
Absolutely, the fact is that the invitation got written in my bedroom. We sat
Wow.
down in my bedroom and wrote the first invitation. And it's like International Black Summit, African American Summit. No, that didn't include me. Black Summit, okay. African Black Summit. Well, I'm international, and we caused international. You
Yes.
know, that's the conversation we're in tonight about family
Yes.
and goals and family. That's really a reflection of that.
Yes, it is. And
When we sat and we created the vision and we express the vision of what the summit is, that we are whole and complete. There's nothing to do except be that.
mm-hmm.
That's really creating family. That's setting forth the future that we see right now and living it in the moment. Isn't
That's
that what family is?
That is exactly what it is. And that's why you're the perfect person for tonight's conversation, because our first thought is, in general, why is creating goals and intentions so important? Why is that an important thing for families to do?
Well, without goals and intentions, there's nothing. You just kind of float.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a boat on the water and you don't give it a rudder, it's going to end up crash somewhere.
Yeah.
So the intention is the rudder. And then you need a sail, right? Because either a sail or an engine, because without the sail or engine, you can't direct it to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got a sail and an engine. Well, you got to figure out where you're going. Well, intention is saying, okay, I'm going over there, right? And then you start going over there. And then you end up over there and you go, oh, well, that was an experience because I've gone through all these things, rough seas and calm seas, and no water because I've been on the water too long, to the salt water too long, so I don't have fresh water to drink, and I ran out of food. And I got to this place, the slush, or sometimes it's not slush, but it's giving me what I need to the next step. So within families, we're doing the same thing. We're stepping one step at a time, just seeing a future and getting to that future, and we grow and we expand. And without expansion, we die.
And it's so interesting because our families have actually accepted that, um, going to school, the goal is to go to school and graduate from kindergarten, then graduate from eighth grade, then graduate from high school, they have those as goals and intentions, and then everything in between is not taken account of.
Well, you
Or
know,
go to work and go, you know what I'm saying, when there's actually an opportunity to add a little bit more flavor in there. Go ahead.
you know, my goals for so I have three kids, right?
Yeah.
Three. I have two boys and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One boy didn't go the traditional route. No,
Mm-hmm.
he went to school for a year, university for a year, and then said, hey, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
The foundation he had built prior to that allowed him to be present to his vision.
Yes.
And in taking that on, he cleaned up. He went to one of the largest cities in the US and he applied for a job. And in his early 20s, he managed the whole one of the top lighting companies. He became the technical manager for one of the lighting companies because he was clear what his vision was. He
Yes.
loved lighting and sound. When he went to a concert, he didn't go to see those people. He went to sit behind the lighting and sound guy to see how he's doing the board.
Yes. So he had a passion, and that's the thing about what when I'm talking about adding a little more flavor.
Hmm.
When we actually allow our children to kind of flow inside of their natural way of being
Oh
instead of saying
yeah.
do this, and this, or give them some experiences through goals and intentions. We can give them some experiences, and then, like you were saying before, oh, I did that, but I don't like that. No,
Hmm.
but it
And
gives them an opportunity.
yeah, and it not only gives them the opportunity and the experiences, it gives us the opportunity and experiences.
Yes.
We had to go through when we were driving him back to school, and he said, "Hey, I'm not going back to school." That was an experience for him too. It was an experience for us, as parents. We're like, "What? What?"
Yes.
And then
Those,
you
those
have,
deep communication skills had to come into play, didn't they?
oh yeah. And when you practice it enough, because you've committed to it, then it becomes natural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Learning is a process of repeating over and over the things you're committed to. And
Mm.
when you commit to it and you repeat it over and over, it becomes natural. And then what they call you a master because you repeated it so many thousands and hundreds of thousands of times that you do it with your eyes closed.
Mm.
But some of us think that mastery is that we should repeat it once, and it's we should know it perfectly.
Oh, I know
Well,
some people that think they can read a book and then, oh, I can do that. It's like,
oh yeah.
where's the practice time?
Now it's important. It's very important that you understand that you can do anything because we're built with the ability to do anything.
Yes, we can.
And I learned that from my folks. My 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 father, um, in the 70s, he was a teacher already for multiple years, and they told him he can't teach because he don't have a degree. So he's like, okay, my family is important to me. What do I need to do to take care of my family?
Mm-hmm.
And he just studied, and he got a raise, and he studied some more. He got another raise. He studied some more. He ended up with multiple masters and multiple undergrads because he kept getting raises.
Yes.
Now we can look at it from one perspective, saying, "Hey, that was so disadvantageous, and that was racist, and all those kinds of things." Another perspective is it was an opportunity for him to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and without his growth, he would not have been the man he is today.
And he would not have been able to take care of his family.
Absolutely, he's 90 something years old now, and
Wow.
you know he's he's the oldest in the family now. He's the
Yeah.
Now, what's our opportunities?
Yeah.
Instead of looking at stuff from all the things that it can't be done, what is it that we can actually just take on because we have a reason for it?
Yes. Yes. And that was clear. That was one of those, because one of the questions was, did you grow up in an environment where family goals were accentuated? But it sounded like that they were actually modeled.
Most importantly, modeled.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see by my kids, I throughout, I kept on taking on, I was a business owner. I was working in corporate America. I was providing low income housing. I was doing a whole lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids saw me doing that. And what they end up doing, they end up doing their version of, well, I'm going to do this. My second son, he's a drummer. He's been drumming since 2 years old. And, at one point in time, we could have said, hey, he's just banging on the pots and pans. Well, those pots and pans became, you know, on the national level, going through competitions
Yeah.
and having people sit up because they're like, I've never heard that play before. What is that?
Yes. Yes.
It, you don't necessarily, he didn't win the competition.
Yeah. But he participated, and his
Had
passion was enlivened.
his passion was enlivened, and people were, the judges were saying, hey, I you had to sit up because it was so unique.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every person has something unique to express.
Yes.
Every one of us.
Yes.
And not every one of us are going to be first.
No, and we don't have to be first. First is not important. It's-
Well,
and but
if
I do know that there's that the male difference in the competition is different from how the woman views that. So
well, that may be true.
yeah,
First is not important unless it's important to you.
yes, yes, yes,
And if it's important to you, then go be first.
yeah, yes,
But if it's important to you to express,
yes,
express yourself to
mm-hmm.
the best ability you can. Play
Yes,
those pots and pans like they're the most expensive drum set that exists.
I agree.
And we've been on like Chicago Avenue or any of the big cities, and we see the our friends and our family, and I'm going to call them family because the definition family in the 1600s sometime became the definition of brother, sister, close family, biological. Prior to that, it included people that you knew and were close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because of slavery and because of conditions, and all this definition changes with conditions. Because of slavery, different tribes that met in the US became family.
Mm-hmm.
So family is really a definition or construct that we create and we implement. And we can create, since it's created, we can create anything. So
Yes.
my definition of family has been expanding and expanding and shifting. And sometimes it includes every single person in the world, and sometimes it includes, a nicer small group. It's all family. So if we take family and we say family is important to us, then what are we doing that's important in contribution to that we call important for us?
Yeah. That's wonderful. That fits in nicely with our next question, which is what ideas do we have that we can share that would be inspiring family goals, for people that are listening to us? Because sometimes people are so busy, Martin. They're busy paying bills. They're busy trying to make ends meet. They're busy keeping up with the latest series, basketball, television, So sometimes they need to have just another aspect, another concept that they can grab hold to and say, "Oh, that sounds good. What can I do? Can I do that?" So do you have some ideas that you can share, and then I have some too.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to hear yours. And also, there's a few that I can share. First of all, you said, we don't have time. Well, because we're watching TV? Okay,
Right,
well, turn off the TV.
right,
I haven't owned a TV in 5 or 6 years.
yeah.
Now, does that mean I don't follow the news? Yeah, I follow the news. Does
Mm-hmm.
that mean I have to follow it every minute? No, I don't. Turn it off. Turn it off. Even if it's for an hour, set some time to turn it off and be intentional for that hour what you're going to create. So bring the family together. Create something that interests all the people that you consider family. So you can actually have conversations like we're having.
Yes.
And conversations like this are very, very powerful because you remember them forever, right? You get old and you go, oh, remember that conversation when we were, and even when you're younger, the younger ones say, hey, it was great talking to Granny because she talked to me.
Yeah.
So intentionality again, putting aside something so that we can actually have
Right. Yes.
putting aside some time so we can have some time to
And
expand our relationship.
with our children,
That's
with our family, with our community, even like you
with
said,
our, yeah,
that includes our community, includes our family.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Now, the other thing is that you really have to be intentional if you want to create something, right?
Yes,
If you're not intentional, you can't create it. It
yes.
creates something for you. Now, do you want to create your life or do you want your life to live you? That's a
Mm-hmm.
choice. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to create your life, be intentional.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when you're being intentional, now you've got to come up with a reason, not just a reason for the family. You got to come up with a reason for acknowledging your intentionality. Because when you acknowledge your there's a saying that goes something like this: wherever you put energy, the result shows up.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question. Do you have any suggestions or advice on building businesses and or working with blended families?
Well, my sister's married to a French Canadian,
Oh wow.
so it's blended.
Hmm.
I have been, um, I had a wife before, which I totally appreciate and acknowledge because, you know, many times um, our families, we think that because we stop being with somebody, that we can't love them anymore, we can't appreciate them anymore.
Hmm.
And we don't look back at all the years that we spent to that. That was choices that we made to be there.
Yes.
And if we chose to be there and we had value in that, then you have to, when you say I don't appreciate that, you're basically saying I screwed up. Well, we are never screwing up, we're just growing. And at some point in time we grow out of the relationship we're in, we go into another. So appreciate where you were at that time, because at that point in time, that's the best you could have done and the only thing you could have done. And if you could have done something different, you would have done something different.
That's real.
So um, your question was, can you say your question again?
Yeah. Any advice on building businesses and being able to work within blended families?
Yeah, so building businesses within families. Just again, I'm just gonna say, you just gotta. A business is an expression of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A business is an expression of what you love, or a business. What a successful business is you expressing yourself and sharing that unique thing that you have that the world wants to see. And the world wants to see most of what you have. You just have to package it and find the people who actually want to listen to you. So yes, I've worked with people who have um, become very influential in large corporate arena, and I've worked with people who've done, pretty well in a smaller environment. So I would say the most important thing is to be very clear about what it is you want to do and take it on, and then get a coach, because we do not see we can't see our face,
Mm-hmm.
and our face expresses more to us than that other people pick up than anything else. Our face has our eyes, our expression, the smile. People see all of that. We don't see any of it. So we need a coach to be able to see that and reflect that back to us. What a coach is a mirror, is
Yeah.
a personal mirror that says, hey, here you are. Do you like it? Okay, you like it. Okay, get yourself more of it. You don't like it? Okay, change it. So get a
Mm-hmm.
coach.
Good. Yeah. And I would add to that, I want to do a short list of, you know, when you're talking about goals, sometimes you have to start off just with small things, right?
Mhm.
So building a family business is a goal that you want.
Absolutely.
So if you create a 30-day goal for your family, like you sit around, if it's, young people, and I'm thinking that if they're old enough to share ideas and sit and listen, then that's the age you can start with, not 3 or 4, but maybe, 6 or 7, where they can listen in and contribute. But for a 30-day goals, you can do something like, let's make the goal to keep the house organized.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let's organize the house. Let's create a list of chores, and then people choose what they want to do.
Now,
And
if I
then,
could say a little bit more about that, that
yes,
list of chores is absolutely crucial for young folks. Because young folks want to know how to be responsible. And they don't learn how to be responsible unless you give them the opportunity to be responsible. That list of chores is their job.
yes,
Their pay is them living there.
yeah,
So, and you clear with that. You express that to them. You get to live here. Here's the cost. In life, there's always a cost.
always.
I exchange this and I get this. I exchange this and I take this. I ex- and if I go take it without having some kind of exchange, it's called being a thief.
That's
And
very good. And then even inside of giving chores, you have the opportunity to teach excellence
mhm, and morality,
and morale. You can teach them accountability. You
absolutely.
can, there's so many teaching moments when you give chores, and everybody has chores. So the children and the parents have chores, but
Mhm.
sometimes I see parents doing everything, and their children are sitting there on their devices, on their phones and their iPads and their laptops, and it's unfair for parents to think that it's okay to allow their children to sit and play most of the time while they're working.
Well, it's not just unfair, it's irresponsible.
Irresponsible, because when
It,
they have to go out in the world and contribute, they
mhm.
don't have any skills. You haven't taught them anything but to go to school, and school are not
Oh,
teaching the things
I
that they
will I,
should be.
I will correct you on that though.
Yes.
You have taught them not to be responsible. You have
Okay.
taught them they don't need any skills. So
Yeah.
you are teaching them one way or another. Are
Yeah.
you going to be intentional about teaching them or are you not?
Right.
And it
So
comes back,
that's
yeah.
right. And there was one more for 30 days, and that is uh, when they are at the age where you can open bank accounts for them, do that.
hmm hmm
Right? So
And
that's,
and and that teaches them how to be responsible with money
and
and how
then,
to relate to money in a way that it's not something that's fleeting.
yeah, you also can set up the conversation of financial literacy
hmm
inside of that.
hmm
So those are ways to begin to have those deeper conversations, but sometimes you have to have some kind of project to bring that in, so it's tangible.
hmm hmm
Yeah.
I used to play Monopoly and Risk and all those kinds of games
Yes, I,
when we were in earlier times. Some people say those were just games. No, those were learning opportunities
yes,
for thinking through things, to thinking through,
exactly.
oh, given these rules and structures, what can I do to actually accomplish what I want?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, games are a good way to do things too.
Yeah.
Have a game night once a week or once a month or whatever it is, but structure it so that people know that during this time frame, it's our time. And all those, no, we're not going to the game, we're not putting on the TV. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, well, that's actually our conversation tomorrow night with the coach, Coach Robert, because he has 4 sons who are
hmm
not teenagers yet, and he's going to be sharing with us the power of family time. Yeah, so
Oh, you
that's
know,
gonna be excited, that conversation for sure. Yes. So let me go. So now this is 3 months, Martin. Let's get your input on the 3 month goals. So the first one is in a 3 month goal, you can create fitness plans.
Mhm.
Um, you can do a conversation around creating a family vacation, and then you can also create community service projects.
Well, let me start with fitness. Fitness at a young age trains you to be strong in older years.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies starts, if we don't use it, it starts letting go of it. So if we don't use our bones and strengthen our bones as we get a little bit older, our body says we don't need that calcium for our bones, and our bones get brittle.
Yes.
At a young age, just having them run and do the things that we just consider work, physical work, it's not a big deal for them because it's just a learning experience. They don't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's physical, the physical part of it. It has very long-term implications.
Long-term implications. Yes.
Yeah. And from a health perspective, we can also teach them how to meditate
Yeah.
because just simply saying, hey, so you're upset? No problem. Take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, two deep breaths and three deep breaths. And after three deep breaths, your whole physiology changes because now you've gone from being solely emotional and reacting from emotional motion
Mm-hmm.
to actually being present and choosing.
Martin, the producer says the noise in the background is kind of distracting. Is there any way we can manage that?
Well handle that. Give me.
Okay. Yeah, so I want you guys to really be listening to what's being said and taking notes because you can use this. You can use this information to forward your family inside of your growth and development. Go ahead, Martin. Hmm.
Okay, so we talked about well, the three areas you covered were again
But the
the
fitness, you did the fitness plans, creating fitness plans, and then also creating plans to have a family vacation. And
family
then
vacations.
the last one was developing community service projects.
Okay, well, let me address development community service projects. My oldest son, I think he was probably about 8 or 10 years old, and he decided he was going to be, he was the bad boy. And I said, no problem. Let me show you an opportunity of what you could be living like. And at that point in time, we were living pretty, I have been a millionaire. So, we're living pretty high up there in the executive condos and stuff like that. And I took him to public housing and
Mm-hmm.
I walked him through public housing and let him know that you can have a perspective like this and live this kind of thing, or you can have a perspective like what we have and live that other opportunity. And either one is available. Now, I'm not saying there's anything bad about people living in public housing. Environments create, environments give the circumstances under which a lot of us grow up in. And many strong leaders came out of public housing.
Yes.
What it did do is showed him a contrast of what he was accustomed to and what he could have or not have if he wasn't going to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And it made a difference. You don't have to beat him. At one time I used to, you know, a lick here or there, and the wife said, the police are going to call and come, and one day the police did come.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I understood the law, and they asked to come in the house, I told them no, they couldn't come in.
Right.
But they did show up, and potentially I could have gone to jail.
Yes.
So, we all have to be responsible and look at what is it that we want to create. And, naming our children and calling them what we call them is important. When we keep calling us somebody a boo or a child, we relate to a youth as the baby. You're basically saying you're not growing to grow up. You have to
Mm.
start shifting the naming because that naming has a psychological impact on who that person relates to.
Yes. Yes. And how we
So
relate to them. Yes.
yeah,
Because a baby usually doesn't have very much responsibility.
don't have responsibility and you got to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
They never take care of themselves. So you calling a 21-year-old person a baby, well, they're going to sit on the couch and not do anything
Mm-hmm.
because you telling them don't do anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking responsibility. Now, in terms of community projects, you know, flip that around, and now I'm leading like youth in leadership and communication. And my son became a leader in youth and communication because of some of those experiences that I made sure he had.
Yes.
Now, my son became a business owner because he saw that I was running a business. Now, didn't matter that I wasn't $1 million business at the time. I
No.
remember one time they came in, one of them came in and said, "Hey, you keep working and working. You don't seem like you're making enough money." And I said, well, look at this. And I took up a spreadsheet and I said, okay, at the time it was $10 an hour people were being paid, or $8 or whatever it was. And I said, 40 hours times 8 hours is what? And he calculated it, and we did the $320 or whatever it was, and then times 52 weeks, and that gave you a certain amount. And I said, well, the last project that I did, that I made this amount, and this amount is 1.5 times that, and it took me um, about 2 months to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, what would you do? He's like, Dad, go ahead and keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Now, so they're at any age they're young enough to understand, as long as you speak their language.
Long as you speak their language. Now, here's a question from a listener. They
Mhm.
said, "Can you give any advice on developing family goals for husbands or fathers who are now single parents due to the loss of the mother?" And some of the things that we've stated so far can be used.
All of them can be used. I think
Yes.
something that's most important in that relationship is to really acknowledge that you are both the mother and the father at that point,
Mm.
and that you have the capacity to be both mother and father. And not only do you have the capacity, you are mother and father.
Yeah, and
So,
then I would even add to that, this is a good time to expand your village, like
mhm.
to include as many of the aunties and the grandparents that you would entrust your children with. And before you do that, have family gatherings where your children can interact with these people and you can see how they interact with the children. But people want to help. I noticed that people will love to help single fathers far more than they will help single mothers. Okay,
that I well, I'm gonna not say anything about that one.
but that has
But
been
that's
my experience. Okay, my
okay.
observation, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah,
I, I would say that we tend not to want to have help. We tend to think that
that's right.
we
We
are
can do
unique.
it. We can
We
do it
can do it,
ourselves. Mm-hmm.
and we'll prove it. And unless and until we're willing to give up that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can help.
Mm-hmm.
Help is always right around you.
It's right there.
It's right there. But we don't see it because if you have on green glasses, everything green looks green.
That's right.
If you have on pink glasses, everything looks pink.
Yep.
If you have I lost my wife and I'm alone,
Yeah.
everything looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the way it is. It's a perspective. You know, the perspective of family, we were talking a little bit earlier about defining family. I wanted to define family because I was like, okay, what is family? Because in the American society and the Western society, family is close knit and all that kind of stuff. Well, as African Americans who have gone through slavery, family we've redefined the whole concept of family.
That's
And
right.
if we I redefine the whole concept of family by taking a person from a tribe and another person from another tribe and bringing them together and blending it and creating communities that have been powerful and have created stuff that we've never even heard of. You know, the play I was sharing with you earlier, Paradise. I forgot the name, but the black actress that won the best actress for this 2022, her play was based on a community of blacks and Italians that lived as family,
Mm.
total family. Like you and I live as family, this kind of relationship that there's nothing in between us.
Yeah.
Like that was family, but not just like physically um, related families, but a whole extension
Yeah.
of family. So why can't we create that? Why can't we extend our family? So for the person who asked that question, start examining what is it that you consider family?
Mm-hmm.
And does that serve you?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't serve you, then here, take a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, write on one side my definition, my current definition of family, and write it down. And on the other side, write down my new definition of family and write that down. Just below that, write down all the reasons why the first one works, my current one works, and why it doesn't work. And below the other one, write down all the reasons why it works and why it doesn't work. And you'll find that the new one you create has very few reasons why it doesn't work and
Yes.
all kinds of reasons why it works.
Mm-hmm.
You start shifting your perspective from that period on. And as you shift your perspective, you start seeing stuff that was already always there that you just didn't see before.
And I like what you said earlier when you said that there's help always right there. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that because I grew up without parents and I was pretty much left alone as a child because my grandmother was kind of tired. She was raising, all of her grandchildren, which was five of us, and I was the last of five. So I was pretty much, as long as I stayed out of trouble and stayed out of vision, I was good. But the
Mm-hmm.
universe always sent a family, some family would, and from the time I was 3, 4 years old, the family next door would take me with them every time they went someplace. They already had 4 kids, but I became the fifth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was how they included me. And till this day, I am the fifth child.
Yeah.
That's
And,
that
and
family.
and you'll always be the fifth child,
I
right?
always be the fifth child.
You'll
And
never be not family.
that I never be. That's right. And the universe has always. I lived in Iowa for 10 years, and we were the only black family after I
Mm-hmm.
was married with children. And the neighbors would come bring me eggs, fresh cheese,
Mm-hmm.
deer beef jerky, whatever that is, right? Deer jerky, right?
Okay.
But
That's an
family.
Iowan thing.
That was the Iowa thing. But I became family because I lived there. First you become the neighbor, then they start including you. You become family. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's
Yeah.
that's what you said is very true. But it's about us allowing the help. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the other thing too is travel. You got to travel.
Oh, wait a minute.
And
Wait a minute. Wait, we're still going down the list. You jumped ahead. So wait a minute. Is that okay? Okay, so we did the community service project.
yeah, community service, a community. Right now, I'm doing the youth leadership program.
Yes.
That right now we have 16 youth that we're taking through a 6-week program through Toastmasters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that, we guarantee that their future will not be the same.
Yeah, it won't be in Toastmasters. I love
Nope,
Toastmasters.
nope, nope. We guarantee it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can guarantee stuff.
Yes, we can.
And guarantee is a commitment to deliver and then doing the things that are needed to deliver.
Yes,
Now, any one of us can do that.
that's right.
And all we need is sometimes some support to see the way.
Right.
This is the way. Go do it.
Okay, so now let's look at 6 months goal.
Okay.
6 month goals include learning a new language together.
Habla español?
Let's see. Learn to trade or code together.
Great.
Cultivate a hobby. So those, what would you have to say about those inside of
Um,
that?
yeah, I did all 3 of those with my kids.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
My one speaks French, one speaks Spanish. I have actually just taken on the relearning Spanish because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
So I lost it, and now hablo español more than a little, uh, and I actually can sit down and translate. Now I can't. You speak too fast. I have to tell you to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, our kids learn faster than us because their brains are very agile. It moves more quickly than ours. So they'll be better than you sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah, children are they're really whiz. They're really a whiz at learning things too.
Yeah, let them be better than you. Your
Yes.
objective is to have them be in the areas that are important to them, be better than you.
And then when you talked about cultivating hobbies, what kind of hobbies did you do with your children, or do you do with your children, or have you done with your children?
Well, we got them into talking about learning how to code. My oldest son learned how to code by going. He was in elementary school, but my wife found a way for him to go to universities at the early. I forget what they call it, but the high schoolers and elementary schoolers go to the university and they participate with stuff like that, and they learn how to code, and they did very well. And part of what allowed my oldest son to be exceptional is because he had those skills. He knew how to code. He knew how to take a board and add things to it because he could code the board to do what he wanted. So it may seem, those things may seem kind of like frivolous when you're doing them, or very difficult when you're doing them. You don't have to learn all of it. You just have to make sure you start understanding concepts so you can actually have a conversation with them, because you want to be able to relate to what they're doing. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it all. I didn't play baseball because I wasn't ever good at baseball, and part of my culture wasn't baseball. But I played soccer, so my sons play soccer. Whatever it is you're good at, and that doesn't mean that they have to do that game.
Yeah.
Just and just I look back on pictures of them and I go, wow. Um, yeah, my son, I took him out and he said, no, Dad, you can't be a coach and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't matter because he was playing and he was having a good time.
Yes. And he
And
enjoyed it. Right.
yeah, every little person is just a small bundle of a big spirit
Mm-hmm.
waiting to absorb knowledge from wherever they are. So the more variety we get, the better.
Yeah.
Traveling, absolutely necessary. And there's three ways to travel. You can travel virtually, which means you go on this, you sit down and you look at pictures and you look at videos and stuff like that with your kids. And you talk about, oh, that's the Philippines, or that's, that's a different culture. That's China, or that's Africa, or whatever. And then involve them in some organization or school where they do exchange programs.
Mm-hmm.
My sons went to Europe. One of my sons went to Australia. I have not made it to Australia. So what? He got to experience it one of these years. Maybe I'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
So traveling is important. Traveling is so important because it expands our concept of who we are, and it brings a concept that we're all one.
Yeah, I also think when I know my youngest son a few years ago when they were in the eighth grade, I some of the teachers and some of the parents and I were talking. I said, why do they always have to go to Washington D.C. for that eighth grade trip?
Mhm.
They were going, well, Miss Stewart, what do you think they should do? I said they should go out of the country. I mean, to go to Washington D.C.
Yeah,
that's kind of boring. So I put together a proposal and I gave it to the director. I said, can we go to Egypt? And they were like, Miss Stewart, where are we gonna get the money to go to Egypt? I said, well, the parents have to pay some, and then we'll fundraise. But if we
that's
say
right.
we're going to Egypt, it's been my experience that the money is going to show up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we took those children. We fundraised, Martin, the whole year. We were fundraising
Mhm.
like crazy. We were selling everything from popcorn to cookies to T-shirts.
And the kids will remember that experience for life.
Oh, they do.
And they learn how business operates from that perspective.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but exactly. And they learned how to create because every time a parent they would call at 10 o'clock at night, Miss Stewart, I gotta get you this $100 before I spend it. Can I bring it to you? Yeah, just bring it to me. And I would give them a receipt that said,
Hmm.
we are going to Egypt. And
Hmm.
paid $100 in the date. I said, put that on your refrigerator so that you can see it every time you open your refrigerator because your subconscious doesn't argue with you. If they see we are going to Egypt, it starts
Hmm.
working with you.
Accountability, responsibility, all of that.
All of that.
And something you said, you came up with this idea that, right?
Yeah.
It only takes one person to come up with the idea
Yeah.
and start implementing, and people fall in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It only takes one person. So why can't anybody be that one person?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then ask for support.
And then
The,
ask for
the,
support. I need your help. Can you help? Exactly.
the International Black Summit didn't get created because one person said, hey, I want the International Black Summit. It got created because two people said, hey, what if this was possible? Somebody heard it and said, yeah, it's possible. So we sat down and wrote an invitation. And we wrote an invitation without having anything structure in place. And and then people heard of it and said, hey, that's possible, because not only that we see that the possibilities, we actually see that it's physically starting to manifest. So we want to be part of the manifestation.
Yes.
So all you got to do is you take on one step at a time, one step at a time, and it manifests itself.
Yes. And then I want to do this last one. This is the goals for 1 year.
Hmm.
1 year. Update your house or rooms in your house. Buy a property together
Hmm.
and release unhealthy habits.
Oh, traditionally released. Let me say the first one you talked about. Update your house. Your mind. Think of your house as your mind. The degree that your house is clean is the degree your mind is organized.
Mm.
Clarity comes with cleanliness. When you clear out, when you throw out old things, you're throwing out old ideas in your mind. And it's not just psychological, it's also physical. Because when you throw out something, that connection is no longer there. So your mind is not seeing it anymore. It's not triggering the old memories of this is where they should be. You have to fill it. You're basically emptying your cup.
Mm-hmm.
And your cup can't be full and expect to add more to the cup.
Wow, that's right. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the first one.
Yeah. And the next one, oh, do you remember it? The next one
Go ahead.
is buy a property together.
Oh, buying a property together. Buy your own house to start off with.
Mm.
Or if you want, buy an investment property.
Mm-hmm.
But be clear on which one you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy an investment property and think you're going to live there. You know, it's two different. So be clear on what your goal is and take it on. And then also be very clear about what your responsibilities are. When, let's say investment property, be clear what your responsibilities are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, part of the reason that I got divorced is that we weren't clear about our reasons for investment property. We weren't clear about our responsibilities in the investment properties. So we were expecting, instead of going in with our eyes fully open, we went in with an expectation, doing all the work, but not having clear goals. So we couldn't measure what it is we were doing.
Oh, wow.
Not measuring what it is that you're accomplishing, it goes wherever it goes. And then it
You
hits
guys were
you.
in conflict over that? That created a conflict?
Well, we did not create, we were clear that we're investing property to create low income housing and to create money. That we were clear about. What we weren't clear about is that who was going to be doing what and who's going to be
Responsible.
responsible
Mm-hmm.
for the items that need to be done.
Yes.
So the expectation of that I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this was not there.
Mm.
And in so doing, when in so doing, Claudette, Claudette, in so doing, we took away the value of everything we had. We had over 30 units.
Mm-hmm.
Lost them because you know we drifted apart from what the original goal was. You have to, every so often you have to re-examine what it is that you're doing. You can't just say, I'm gonna, it's like saying, getting in a car and saying, I'm gonna drive from here to LA and never look at your gas gauge to see that you don't have gas, right? you The long-term goal is LA. You have to have short-term goals. I'm going to get to 300 miles because that's what the car takes, or I'm going to get to 200 miles because I'm only going to drive for 4 hours before I take a break. So
Yeah.
you have to take in consideration all of the circumstance, not all, but the major circumstances that you're working under.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't drive my 90-year-old father to LA because it doesn't make sense. He won't the pains of a 90-year-old. You
He
can't sit
won't
there for
enjoy it. Period.
period. No, he might enjoy the first hour.
Right, right. Then it's like, get me out of here.
Yeah. But if I'm going with a 20 or 30-year-old, to explore all the different things that exist, and we're going through canyons and mountains, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got to consider the circumstances.
yes. Yeah, that goes to my next question. How does failure factor into creating family goals?
You know, there's two perspectives that I have on that, or that many people have on it. The failure is a bad thing. There's too many failures. Well, I say there's actually no failures.
Yeah.
You know, just simply a learning process. If there's no light, there's no dark.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see anything one way or another. So without light, without darkness, there's no in between and all the experiences that you have in between. And life is about experience. So failure is one side of it and success is the other side of it. And where we live is in between the two. So is there failure? No, there's one side and there's the other side of contrast and all the hues in between. And it's important for us to know that without the contrast of light and dark, or failure and success, we cannot achieve something because we have no guidance. If we have, if if we're going to go, if we're going to travel from point A to point B, if we are going to go to develop a family that's cohesive, if you don't have any point at which you've taken on a goal and not succeeded, you don't know if you've succeeded or not. You don't know if you've just limited yourself to just doing the minimal thing that's possible for yourself, or just having a fantastic family.
Yeah, I could
So
definitely hear that because actually, you know, when you think about it, and I'm in total agreement. Failure is not something that I think is a bad thing. I don't like to coin that phrase either. I don't like to have failure as a conversation because you learn so much.
that's the only way we learn.
That's the only way you learn. You learn through failure better than what you learn through success most of the time.
Yeah.
You
Six,
know, or what people call failure, I should say.
what
Yeah.
people call failure. Yeah. If,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there is no failure.
Right.
Or there's a psychological relationships to failure that we have that is it doesn't bring value to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to shift the perspective on failure to have it be valuable to us. So yeah, failure is a word, and any word by definition is something that we made up to speak to a certain set of circumstances.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and then over time, when we experience that, we say that is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if failure was the ability to actually achieve all the things we achieve, then we would have been going, fail me, fail me, fail me.
No, but it is the ability to learn about yourself, to see what your strengths and weaknesses are, to actually cultivate yourself so that you next time you go to do that same thing, now you actually have a different set of tools and concepts and you can have the ability to move forward a bit faster because you've learned something about who you are.
That's great. So now failure, what is it? The ability to learn something, or opportunity of learning, or ways of expanding. So here's how we relate to failure now. Another way of relating to failure. Fail me, fail me, fail me. Why? Because I'm learning.
I'm learning all the time.
I'm
Oh,
learning.
oh, and you know what that I just saw when you did that, Martin? Because people have such a fear of failure, if they took it on like fail me, fail me, fail me, that eliminates the fear.
No, actually, you have the fear and you do it anyway.
You do it anyway, but I'm saying because you're so excited about it, it's like
Uh,
I,
and then it becomes null and void because it's like, okay, it's this, I when I went skydiving, right? I
yeah,
took my son skydiving, and I was like, it was on his bucket list.
right,
So I said, okay, we're gonna do it. Got on the plane and got on there, and then I looked down and I saw the houses and they were getting smaller. And I said, hey, those small houses pretty small. We must be pretty far up. And the guy looked at me and said, yeah, we're going up 18,000 feet
oh
and
my,
we're 3,000 feet up. I'm like, what? What the hell did I do coming up here? And then he started joking with the other guy, and I had a moment to just breathe.
yeah,
and I breathe.
Hmm.
And then I started joking too because it was like, fail me, fail me, fail me, because I'm gonna learn.
Because I'm jumping out. I'm not gonna get up here and be like, no, I'm not gonna do it, right?
Well, it was like, I got to the door and they gave instructions. They said, lean at the door. And when I got to the door, it's like the guy jumped out. Well, I'm tending to somebody. He
Yeah,
pushed himself
tandem.
out, so
Uh-huh.
I'm gone, right?
Yes, yes,
And I turned back and looked at the plane and it was gone like a bullet. I was like, wow, what an experience.
yes, and it's done now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So failure, what is it? It's a perspective that we've taken on over time that, in shifting our perspective, allows us to acknowledge it and appreciate it for what it is, an
Yeah.
opportunity to grow.
I just want to backtrack just a little bit because a question was asked, what is the importance of incorporating the list we just gave into family goals? Do you want to address that, or would you like me to address it? I think you can address it. But what is the importance in incorporating the list we just went through into family goals?
Well, I would say that if you want something for your family, you have to structure it.
Mm-hmm.
Accidentally coming is one in a million or more. So if you want something that's important in your family, you have to structure it. And what is structure? Setting up goals
Mm-hmm.
and then taking on fulfilling the goals. So putting structure in place to fulfill them. Now we're going to have failures, right? We're going
Yep.
to also have successes, and in the failures you go, at the when you come to the time frame. So a goal is, let's go back and define a goal: a specific item or a specific event that you want to accomplish it within a specific time frame.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it has a specific time frame and it's something specific, it's not a goal. It's a what if, or if I could, shoulda, woulda, could. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
them things that's, in the ether that you might one day hear about. No, you want to go, it's a specific thing. When you created this 11 years ago, you had a goal.
Mm-hmm.
That was a goal. And now, 11 years later, you want you didn't know what it was going to be like 11 years later.
Yes.
You had a goal back then, and then it developed over time. 11 years later, from now, you have no idea what it's going to be like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you
But we
have a
know we're
goal
gonna
now,
keep developing, right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
So your goal doesn't have to be the be all or end all of anything. Your goal has to be a specific item or a specific event that you want to have happen in a specific time frame. And it's important to have goals.
Yes. And then that goes
Three,
to
choose
what?
three goals.
Mm-hmm.
Choose three goals that are important to you. Do the most important first, the second most important second, the third most important third.
Yeah.
So you learn how to prioritize yourself, learn that some things are more important to you than others, and you get them accomplished.
Yeah, that goes into the next question. What structures can we put around supporting individuals in the family doing their part with the goal? You just gave part of that structure. And
Mm-hmm,
then, adding to that would be, when you make a goal and write it down
mm-hmm,
and put the date on it,
mm-hmm,
right? That begins creating the structure,
mm-hmm.
right?
So you have to have goals that are family goals.
Mm-hmm.
And within those family goals, you have multiple goals, right? Or multiple events.
Yes, task and responsibilities to
Mhm.
make it. Yep.
And each task and responsibility is actually a small goal, a smaller goal, or a sub goal
Mm-hmm.
for each individual.
Yeah.
So, within a family, for example, the kids go to soccer. Well, the goal is to go to soccer. And then the task is to leave by 10 o'clock. And you have to make sure that a parent and the child goes to soccer, because the parent going to soccer by themselves is irrelevant.
And then wait,
It-
but and other goals inside of that is making sure that the uniforms are clean. So somebody
Mhm,
had to do that. Making sure
mhm,
that they have snacks and drinks. You
mhm.
see, those are all the tasks inside of the goal going to soccer.
Right. So each person has a goal. So your child needs to make sure that they finish their homework by the time they're ready to go to soccer, or they don't go to soccer because they,
Whatever sport, yeah, yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
Or football, or whatever it is. Yeah. So you're now structuring. You have the master goal, and then you have the sub goals.
Hmm.
Sub goal, you break that down again so that each individual knows their responsibility to fulfill on that good sub goal.
Yes. And that
And
goes back to what we said earlier, that you have to give children a responsibility and task so that they can feel like they're contributing.
yeah,
You can't
not
do
just
it all. Parents should not be doing it all.
not just feel, they have to be contributing.
They have to. That's right. Yeah, that's great. So that's and then one of the things, and I'm not too fond of the reward and punishment system, but really using time to acknowledge
Oh
the,
yeah.
the cohesiveness and the contribution that each person made to getting it done. That's important to do. Don't just do it and constant and make it, take it for granted. Everybody's contribution makes a difference in that goal, getting to soccer.
And when you acknowledge somebody, you're actually acknowledging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're acknowledged too, it just doesn't feel right. Feel it. Thinking is for the brain, feeling is for the heart.
Mm.
The brain and the heart work together.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel good, and when you have good thoughts, you're a complete person. It all just blends together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were there other questions, or
Yeah, I wanted to ask, why do you think people do not create family goals for themselves?
an experiment was many experiments been done, but I'm going to speak to one experiment. Um, it had to do with stem cells.
Mm-hmm.
They took stem cells and they put it into a petri dish with other with bone, and the stem cell grew into bone. They took it and put it with muscle, and it grew into muscle. They took it and they put it in heart, and it turned into heart muscle. The environment that things exist in allows the creation of that, more of that thing that exists.
Mm.
And that's no different from you and I, actually any one of us. Or environment allows us to experience what's available in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And until and unless we get conscious of that, we can't impact the environment ourselves. Most people this is the Western society, especially in the US society, as Black folks, who've been trained to not be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we were responsible, back then we would have gotten our legs cut off, or we would have gotten lynched, or whatever it is that they did. And even now, with some of the things that are going on, people are fearing for their lives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
With some of the guns that's going on and the people are shooting, is because that environment allows for that. So within our society, we have to acknowledge that the environment that we're in allows for a lot of the stuff that's going in. And then when we acknowledge that, then we have to say, okay, is that what we want for ourselves? And then choose. And we don't have to choose that. Not because a gun is next to me, does that mean I have to shoot it?
Mm-hmm.
Not because a TV is available to me, doesn't mean I have to buy one.
Or watch it. You don't have to turn it on.
Watch it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not because they say that this show is the best show on TV and it berates Black folks, does that mean I have to watch it?
Right.
Not because the person that owns the most money, Facebook or something like that, says you have to be on Facebook, does that mean you have to use the aspect of Facebook that doesn't support what you're up to? So first, acknowledge that in society as human beings, we grow from repetition, and within the confines or the constructs of environment, if we're in an environment where repetition is a certain quality or a certain type of repetition, that's what we'll learn. You spoke about traveler before, that's breaking the cycle. When you travel physically and you go someplace else, your mind can no longer say, oh, this is exactly the way it's been, and this is the only way that it can be. Some people have, back when I first moved to Chicago and I heard people um, had traveled outside of 30 miles of the radius of where they lived, I was like, how could you? I just moved from Toronto by car.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have no GPS back then. You had to read maps and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me they haven't traveled without outside of 20, 30 miles. Now it's not as easy to do that anymore. Traveling is a lot easier. So physically you can travel. You can also travel virtually. You can get on the screen and pull up a video or YouTube about some other place, and you can go there.
Mm-hmm.
Join a Toastmaster club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of Toastmasters in Georgia. Come join our club.
Mm-hmm.
You'll experience Georgia in a way that you've never experienced before. You'll actually be part of Georgia.
Yeah.
I have people, use WhatsApp and you communicate with people in China and Korea and India and Africa
Mm-hmm.
and here. It shifts the whole perspective of what you can do.
That's it.
So we're getting very much aware that the constructs of society that have been designed for us are no longer workable. And the more we get present to that, is the quicker and the easier it becomes for us to choose to expand ourselves and be in other arenas.
Mm-hmm.
It it it's it just takes a first step.
Yeah.
Like anything else, climbing a mountain takes the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Running 5 miles takes a first step.
Are you still running?
Not as much as I was,
Okay.
but I've been working.
You've been working. Yeah, that's right.
I've been working. I just over the last 2 weeks, I just rebuilt a deck, so it's
Wow.
substituted.
So when we talked about redoing your home, teaching your children carpentry, you know, is just one of those trades. When they
Yeah,
learn those things, they forever know them.
yeah. My parents built 2 houses, and I knew how to build a house. Now, did I do all the work? No,
Hmm.
I just knew how to do it because they did it. If they could do it, then I can do it too.
That's wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much. We're getting to the end, Martin. And, before we leave, I want to just make sure that people um, have information about how they can engage with you, any projects or anything going. Are you taking clients right now? And if so, how can they find you? Because you don't do Facebook.
I do not do Facebook. I am changing my mind. I'm working on it.
Okay, okay.
But um, I can be reached at info@magic.net, and that's with two G's. That's mastery at generating greatness in community and network. So
So
that's
maggic.net.
MAC. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I want to invite anyone that's listening to this that has young folks. Um, we are starting the Toastmasters Youth Leadership Program for high schoolers and elementary schoolers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, mid schoolers, sorry, mid and high schoolers, starting. That's actually coming this Saturday, and I will. So you can email me at the email that I gave,
Mm-hmm.
and I will send them an application. We have a few slots left, and
Do you
like I
have a
said,
flyer that we can post to our page? Do you have a
yes,
flyer?
I will do. So I will send that
If
to
you
you.
send that to me, we'll post it to the page, and then that way people can find it more readily. Yeah.
Yeah, and our expanding our youth's thinking
Yes.
expands our community. It expands their generation. It expands our generation. It expands generations going back because they speak to their aunties and uncles and great aunts and great grandmothers and all of those. And what they learn and bring to the table, they share with them too. And forward, it always affects going forward
Yeah.
because their environment is always going to be wider and can accomplish way more because we've given them the ability at a young age to expand themselves. So those are two areas that, in regards to coaching, I coach, and I coach. I basically like to look at folks and have them develop their vision and really implement it. That's what turns me on.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I've taken on for myself, so it's what I want for other folks too.
That's right.
Individuals, individually, we can affect the world, and we do affect the world. And when we choose to affect the world, at one point in time, I used to be scared of dying and being killed because of my thinking of what the world should be like and could be like and all those kinds of things. And I've given that up because we're going to live, we're going to die. It's the quality of life from the time we live to the time we die.
Mm-hmm.
So dying is a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Goal.
Mm-hmm.
Living is the start of the goal. Being born and dying is the goal. That's
Mm-hmm.
life's goal. And what is the quality that we're going to bring during that time frame?
Yeah.
So I've given up being scared about living, about dying, and you know, I just express myself now.
It's interesting because I just taught a deaf doula class a couple of months ago and have certified probably, I think, about 12 deaf doulas. And inside of that conversation, we really teach people, similar to what you're saying, that death is not the ending of life. There's
Mhm.
something else outside of that, but it's just another part of the journey. So you don't have to be afraid of it,
Mhm.
but it does give you full appreciation for where you are right now.
Oh yeah, I put my uncle to rest
Yes.
earlier today,
Okay.
and I looked at him and I appreciated who he is, and
Yes.
and this, What
See,
is there?
I don't like to offer condolences because it's not, to me,
Why?
I want people to learn how to release the person to go into their next journey. I mean, to yeah, it's like there's something greater beyond who we are right now. We just don't know what that is because we're still here, but we
Yeah.
know who came from that.
Well, we're physical beings
Yeah.
and spiritual beings.
Yeah.
Without the spirit, there's no physical.
Right.
Well, sorry, without the spirit, there's no aliveness.
Yeah, there's no aliveness. So you take yes,
Right.
yes, and that's what gives the physical aliveness is the spirit. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if and when they've weighed the physical body when you died, and it doesn't change in weight.
Wow.
So spirituality has nothing to do with the physical realm that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So spirituality is a total realm unto itself and exists inside and outside of the realm that we understand as physical beings.
Mm-hmm.
We never die from a spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
We transform
We
and we
trans.
transform.
Yeah.
But if
And we
you
leave
also
this
look,
body.
yeah, but if you also look at the as a physical self, when we're a baby, we're not who we are at this age, right?
No, that's right. We have to keep releasing to get to this age.
We
Yes.
keep transforming and transforming and transforming and transforming. And at some point in time, we transform from physical to totally spiritual.
Non-physical. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So yeah. So I love working with folks who really want to like take on and live their best self. You know, creating uh, I I say that some people say that you get divorced and then you should never love that person again because that was the whatever the reasons, right? And I say, hey, I'll always love the person that I've loved before.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to be in love with them and going to be sleeping with them. None of that. Is I appreciate them for who they are. That's
And they
love.
gave us something. They
And they
gave us
gave us
aspects
something,
of us. That's right. Yes.
and they left us something that, and we gave them something.
That's right.
And together we created something that could not be created otherwise.
Wow.
And then when we were somebody different, you have the same kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You give something, they give you something, and you appreciate where you are in this moment. You appreciate it, you love it.
You get to grow
But you,
inside of that. That's right.
and you don't go back and try to fix or be with that other person. No, that's complete. And you're here now, and this is where you're at. Be
Mm-hmm.
where you're at, wholly, completely appreciating, generating with gratitude the relationship that you have.
Yes.
And I am so happy for my partner right now. You know, um, we've been in relationship for about she reminds me it's about 12 months now, right? and I'm like, I will not ever give you up. I have we have created a relationship where we've traveled every month to meet each other,
Wow.
although we don't live in the same city.
That's beautiful, Martin.
And it's how could you give up a quality of life like that?
You don't. And I think as you get older, you have more of an appreciation for it too, because
Mhm.
it gives you so much joy. That to
Yeah.
me is a success. That is the success of the relationship. Joy is present.
And it could easily have been she lives in another state,
Mm-hmm.
8, 10 hours, 12 hours from me. I had to drive all the way there and all like, hey, ain't gonna work. And hell no. She
Yeah.
accepted me exactly as I as where I was and everything like that. And I accepted her. And
Oh,
from that we just created.
that is
Now that's family.
that's family. Yes. And thank you so much, Martin, for talking to us tonight about making family goals matter. Because we believe if we continue to feed into one another and give to one another, and we offer this at no cost to anyone except for the time that it takes them to listen. And we're continuing our conversation tomorrow night with Coach Robert Nixon, who's going to talk to us about the power of family time. Now, time is going to be different tomorrow because he works night. So we're going to start at 5:30 Central Daylight Time. So if you can't join us at 5:30, just be looking for the replay, okay? But until then, everybody, thank you. Thanks again, Martin, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.
Ashe.
Ashe.